Hello, my name's Keith Rucker. So over the last weekend and over the last couple of evenings, I've had a little bit of time to work on some few things, mostly on the Vance Planer matcher here, but well, maybe not mostly, but also doing some work on the Oliver table saw that we restored a while back. But anyway, I've been kind of waiting to get enough content together to kind of throw up a little this and that episode. Tom Lipton calls them his meatloaf episodes, a little of this, a little of that. So I don't know what I'll call mine to keep them original, but anyway, this is going to be one of those. We've got a varying content. So this past Saturday, when we were at the museum, Andy Knowlton came out and helped me some again. Andy's one of my viewers, lives here in Tifton, and anyway, he came out and helped do some electrical work, getting a motor starter put on the Oliver table saw, which one of my viewers donated. Thank you very much. We got that going on Saturday, and also got some hand wheels installed on the Oliver. So it's pretty much operational now, which is good. And also, again, doing some work on the Vance Planer matcher. Just some odds and ends, little jobs. We're kind of getting down to where I'm just trying to get some little things done on here now that need to be done before we can kind of get into the next big thing. So anyway, we'll show you that when we get into it. So anyway, sit back and enjoy. I hope you enjoy this, and hang in there and watch. All right, guys, let me show you what we're doing here. We've been working on the Oliver 80 table saw today, and the goal is I want to get the knobs put back in these hand wheels. And we ordered some new knobs from McMaster-Carr. The old ones were just rusted out. We pressed those out when we restored the saw, and I've got the new ones. And I measured this, and it was just a tad over 7/8, or not 7/8, 7/16. So my hole was a little bit too small, about 15 thousandths too small. So I'll come in here with a reamer, ream this out, which all looked great. And then when I come in here with it, the hole's too big now. So I guess because I was doing it with a hand drill and maybe not going just straight on there, ran into some problems. So again, we're kind of looking at plan B here now. So got to thinking here, and what we can do is we can actually drill and tap a hole in the back of this hand wheel, and just put a bolt through the back, and that would actually allow it to spin in here, which will make it easier on the guy operating it, letting it spin. So it wasn't the intended plan, but actually I kind of like it better. So now the challenge is we need to get this irregular shaped form here chucked up in the lathe and running true, which is going to be a challenge in itself. So let's go in here on the lathe and we'll show you what we got. All right, so we got it in the chuck here. And as you can see, I got some little brass spacers in there, and it's grabbed on right there, but there's not a long straight place on this shaft to kind of get it lined up straight. So I have come in here and I put the steady rest on the lathe, and got that on the end down there, and it's actually going to have to go way up in there. As you can see, it's let's focus here. It's having to go up in there, but because the hole is smaller diameter, I think it's going to be working since we're just drilling. So I put a center drill in there and kind of found the center of that shaft, and then adjusted my steady rest to get it running as close to true as I can. And I think we're just going to drill that out with a number 7 drill bit and just tap it 1/4 and put a screw in the back of there. So anyway, we're going to go ahead and drill this out on the lathe now, and hopefully this will work. Cool. Good. So I got this set up, and I'll raise this up so you can see, but I'm going to go ahead and screw that back down now, and we'll put a little oil in there just to kind of lubricate it. It's going to be kind of fun because we're going to be doing this somewhat blind. Alright, I got a center drill in there, center hole. Swap this out. Alright, so that looks good. We'll have to tap that out. I can't see what I'm doing, so I'm just going to do it by hand. I think it'll be easier than trying to power tap it on the lathe in this situation. Yep. Alright, so I started off with just a pointed tap, and now I'm going to put in a... Actually, that's not the tap I thought it was. Let me go get a bottoming tap so we can get to the bottom of this hole. If you look at these taps, you know, this one here is tapered in going in. That's for starting a hole, whereas this one has threads all the way to the bottom. So if you want into a hole, blind hole, and you need to get to the bottom, you need to switch out and finish it up with a bottoming tap or a plug tap. I think this one is actually a plug tap. Then a bottoming tap will take you even deeper into the hole, but this will be good enough for what we're going to do. So now we got a tapped hole in there. We'll put this through. I've just got a little socket cap screw with a washer on the back, and I can see what I'm doing. Alright. I can already tell I'm going to have to make a special washer to go on the back of that because it's not flat. But you get the idea of what we're going to do there. That's going to tighten that in, and we should be in good shape. And that'll get that going. We've got another one to do on this one here. We'll probably end up doing it the same way and go from there. So while we're looking at the Oliver table saw, I'll show you guys we got the motor starter installed. So this was the motor starter that was donated to the museum by one of our viewers, and unfortunately when we got it, the enclosure that we had, it wouldn't fit in. I thought it would, but it didn't. But my good buddy Andy Knowlton, who's out here again helping me today, he actually was able to find another enclosure for it, a larger enclosure. And anyway, we tried to get this wired up the other week, and then when it hit the enclosure problem, we had to back up and pump. But we got it all wired up now, and everything seems to be running. So we'll give you a shot of showing you this thing start off. All right, so we got over here just a remote starter switch, and hit the button, and she spins right up. So still need to work on the belt back there. I need a little bit longer pulley than what's on there to get a little bit better so we can get it tight. It's got a little slippage in it right now, but I think I'm going to try to get an endless belt to get rid of that clacking. That's where the lace, the metal lace in that belt is coming around the pulley, and this will be a very quiet running saw. But anyway, got some progress made on this today. Real excited about that. Shut it off. Everything's working great. And there she is with the enclosure on, all buttoned up, looking pretty. Alright, so we're going to do a little what's it episode here. Everybody seems to be doing what's it's in their videos here lately. So I've got here a tool we need to see if you guys can identify and guess what this is. And to be honest with you, I'm not quite sure what it is myself, so you guys will have to educate me on this. This is a piece that a friend of mine had turned up in a box and is trying to figure out what it is. Came with some machine shop related stuff, but anyway, he doesn't think it goes to what he has. In fact, the stuff he's got, he's not even sure what all it goes to. It doesn't look like it goes with all the other stuff, but so anyway, take a look around it here. So, you know, we got like a power takeoff here, and when you turn this, it goes up into a gear head and turns this thing here, but these pieces are in there loose. The outer ring there is in there, so not sure exactly how that works. On this side here, you know, this is on a dovetail slide. That almost looks like it may have gone on a tool post or something. I'm not sure. Got a little square key on the bottom there. I'm not sure if that's a key or just a set screw, but anyway, there is a little mark there on the bottom of this thing. I don't know if we can get that focused or not. There we go. So I'm not sure if that might give a clue as to what this might go to. Anyway, if anybody knows what this is, let me know. I'd like to see some documentation or some pictures of it. I'm just not sure. So anyway, we'll see if anybody knows. I won't be a bit surprised if somebody knows exactly what this is. So you've seen in my last couple of videos kind of getting ready to do some casting work, and I've mentioned a couple of times that I've got a little foundry set up that I built several years ago. In fact, I was just going through some of my records, and I think it was back around 2007 when I built this. So it's 2014 now, so that's about 7 years ago. I built a little homemade furnace that I could melt aluminum or brass in, based on some plans that I kind of put together from a couple of different sources, mostly on the internet and through some friends of mine that do some backyard casting work. And I thought I would kind of show you guys my furnace setup. And quite honestly, I need to make some repairs to it. It's getting in disrepair, and it's just needing a little bit of work done to it to get it ready for these jobs I got coming up. So basically, the furnace itself is fairly small. It's, you know, I can take a crucible probably about 8 inches in diameter in here and heat it up. But I made this out of a metal barrel. Some people will use a metal 5-gallon bucket. I wanted something a little bit bigger than that, so I was able to find a small barrel, kind of like a 55-gallon barrel, but a smaller one. So this one was originally about yay tall, you know, and this big around, and that's what, I don't know, let's see, we're about 14 inches in diameter on the outside of this, and it's made a very good furnace. Like I said, I've been using it for about 7 years now. You know, I wouldn't say it's getting daily use by any means. I've probably fired this thing up a dozen or 2 times over that time, and have done multiple castings out of it. Several times when I fired it up, I would be running it pretty much, you know, all day long or half a day or something. It wasn't just one heat, then I was done. A lot of times I had multiple pours that I was doing during a day. But it's, like I said, it's held up good, but it's needing some work. And let me just kind of go over a little bit how I built this. So, you know, again, we took the barrel, I cut the top off. It was much taller. And this is the top piece down here, and this actually became the top of the furnace. So to make this work, you have to line it with a good material that's going to basically keep the heat in, an insulator. And there's lots of stuff out there. I made my own out of some fairly cheap materials. So, you know, here's just some furnace cement. You know, bought this from McMaster-Carr. These things cost about $12 for a you know, this quart size, which will actually go a long ways. And I mixed that with just regular old perlite. This is the little white beads you see in potting soil to help absorb moisture. But this stuff, you know, you can't burn it, and it's a great insulator. And basically, you just take these together. You use the furnace cement as a binder, and this whole inside of this thing is pretty much just perlite with some binder holding it in place, the furnace cement. So, you know, you take this up, mix it up about the consistency of some roofing tar or something like that, and I just packed it in here mostly by hand, getting it to the shape that I wanted, and then let it cure for a couple of days. And then after it cured for a couple of days, I came back with some more of the furnace cement and basically lined the inside of this with the furnace cement to get it to where it needs to be. And like I said, it's held up very well. I am needing to get in here and just do some relining, take some more furnace cement and just kind of patch up a couple places, because there's some places where it's starting to crack and crumble a little bit. You know, it would work as it is now, but I want to make sure this thing doesn't fall apart on me. The top of the furnace, you know, just kind of sits on here, and it's got a hole all the way through it. Originally, I would use this upside down from the way it is, so the top was actually down, and that was what was holding all the insulation on the top, and the top was just, you know, the well, you can see here it was just basically the cement coated off. The problem I've run into is over the years of using this and then taking it back out and let it sit, the metal in here has just deteriorated, rusted away more or less. Every time you heat it up, you oxidize a little bit more. It got thinner and thinner until finally it just started falling out. So my plan today is, more than anything else, is I need to get a bottom back on this that's going to hold in place. So again, my favorite supply house, McMaster Car, I ordered some refractory tile here. This is for lining furnaces or what have you with you. I bought a 12 by 12 piece of this, 1 inch thick, and it's very heat. It do very well with heat, and basically this is going to become my new bottom for this for the top piece here. And I'm going to mix up some more of the perlite, fill in here that has kind of gone away. We'll put this in place. I'll probably take some screws and kind of come up from the side to hold it in place, and then pack it all in and glaze it over. And I should be hopefully good to go for quite some time. So anyway, I thought I would show you that. I do have a hole here on the side. I just cut that, I think, with a hole saw. Let's see, that's about 2 inches in diameter, and that's where my burner goes in. And I'll show you and talk to you about my burner later on when we start using this. But it's basically a homemade thing that I just made out of some black pipe. Went to Lowe's and bought some pieces of black pipe, plumbed it up, and make a great furnace burner. And this furnace is adequate for melting brass or aluminum. It won't quite get hot enough to do cast iron, but does a great job with brass or aluminum. So I'm going to get a bucket, and we're going to mix up some of this perlite here and go ahead and start working on this repair to my furnace. So we're going to start by mixing up some fresh insulation here to go in here. And again, we're just going to use the perlite. Got a big bag of it here. Bought this at Lowe's today. I think it costs about $5 for this big bag. And I'm going to just try to estimate about how much I'm going to need here. And we'll just start with that much. I may need to mix up a little bit more. We're going to put that in there. Then I'm going to take my furnace cement, and we're going to mix some of this in there with it as well. Now this stuff kind of dries out a little bit. It's not hard right now. It's been sealed up in this container, but it's not super moist, and it's fine. If you read the instructions on it, they recommend to actually mix it with some water in here to kind of get it a little more pliable, and then you can spread it around a little bit more. So I'm gonna put a little bit more of this in there. We'll start with that. And we're just going to start stirring this up. It's going to take a little while to get this all mixed in here like it needs to be. Alright, I'm pretty happy with this. So, this stuff is nicely put together, and the whole main thing is the cement in here is just really, again, just kind of a good binder for this perlite. And so now, we're just going to get in here. We're going to get my hands dirty, and we're going to start kind of packing the stuff in here. I got to be careful. I got some sharp edges in here where this metal's at, but I want to get all that kind of, I don't want any air spaces in here. I want to get it all back in there. Alright, we're going to have to mix up some more, but that was a good start. Alright, I'm going to test fit this in here now. And again, my goal is just to kind of get this down in here, and that looks actually pretty darn good. There's not much of a gap in here. I'm going to take my hand and just kind of try to work at getting this material kind of up in this gap. This hole in the middle is just a hole for the gases. It'll actually come up through the top. You got to have a hole for them to come out, and that's where it comes out. But this is looking good. I've got this packed in here pretty good now. I'm actually going to take a little bit of this insulation and kind of work around my corners here. All right, we're basically just going to set this aside and let this dry overnight, and then tomorrow this should be kind of in place a little bit better, and we'll come back over with some of the cement here and kind of glaze everything in place. So I'm going to put this up, we'll clean my mess up, and just let this cure overnight. Alright, so I've been working on this belt shifter mechanism for the Vance Planer matcher here. So this basically will control the feed works on the machine by moving this lever. So there's a lever here that pivots on a point, and when you do that, it moves this little piece here back and forth. It just slides a belt between the tight and loose pulley. So I got all these parts back together, bead blasted everything, put a coat of paint on it, started reassembling it, and I got to the handle here where I'm putting it in, and I thought there was just a bolt that went through there, but when I got to looking at it, I realized, hey, there's more to this than that. So let's zoom in there and I'll show you what's going on. All right, so hopefully you can see there's a hole here in the handle, and then there's a hole here in the machine, and that becomes the pivot point that this moves on. And again, I thought there was just a bolt that went through there, but then I started looking at it, no, there's got to be a spacer between here and there, and the diameter of the hole in the handle is different than the diameter of the hole in the machine. So I went and started digging through all the parts that I pulled off of here. So all the nuts and bolts and whatever that I pulled off this machine, most of them were so rusted that they weren't going to be reusable, but I kept everything just because you never know when you might need to look at this. And I also went back through some of my pictures that I took as I was disassembling it, and I found this part right here, and it's basically a 1/2 inch on stud on each side, but then there's a spacer here and then a bigger diameter, and this piece fits in this hole, and it's a little bit tight right now, but anyway, it goes in there. And on this end, it goes up, it fits on the shoulder here. It tightens up on that shoulder so that it will rotate, and then you got the spacer between the two pieces. This is all one piece, and this one is pretty toasty, as you can see. Like most of the steel parts on this machine, it's just rusted out beyond repair. So we're going to make a new one of these. Should be a fairly simple lathe job. So we'll turn it out of 1-inch steel. It's just basically a spacer in here, so it hasn't got to be perfectly the two sides in concentricity with one another. So we'll just chuck up on the 1-inch. I'm not even going to worry about turning that outside diameter down. We'll turn this side first, and so turn to this diameter, and then thread this to a smaller diameter. We'll flip it around, we'll chuck it up, and then we'll turn that down and thread that side. And anyway, should be a fairly simple lathe job. Let's get going. Alright, we're getting ready to thread this. I've got the lathe set on 13 threads per inch. We've got this turned down to 1/2 inch. And you guys have seen me thread before. If you want to see how to do that, I got some other videos that go in depth on it. But we're just going to come in here and knock these out real quick. Slowed my lathe down a little bit. Got a fairly short thread, and I don't want to run into that shoulder, so I'm giving myself some room to work with. Set my 0, and check my pitch. Right on the money. Knock these out. Alright, we flipped this part around now, and we just need to turn it back side down again to 1/2 inch and thread it. Alright guys, there's old versus new. So as you can see, new part looks great. Let's go see if we can put it on the machine and get this piece working. Alright, let's go about seeing about installing this piece now. So this piece just kind of goes up through here. Here it goes. And we're just going to take a regular nut, put on the back side here. Tighten that up. So now you can see how that stud kind of sticks out there. And handle goes up on there. And another nut on this side. And that tightens up on the shoulder, but it's not enough to make it too tight that you can't operate it. So there's just a little bit of wiggle in there, which is just right. And that appears to be working great. I'll show you this whole mechanism working here. Alright, so the operator is standing back here on the back side, and to engage and disengage the feed rollers, all he does is reach up, grab this handle, and when he does, you can see it moves the belt shifter, or shipper, S-H-I-P-P-E-R, S-H-I-P-E-R, I'm not sure how to spell it, but commonly referred to as a shipper instead of a shifter in the old literature. But that basically, there'll be a flat belt that goes up through there, it'll go down through those forks, and by moving this handle it'll slide it over. And excuse me walking in front of the camera in case you don't remember from when we did this. So one of these pulleys is what we call a loose pulley. It's just on a bearing, it just spins. So you know, when the belt is on this pulley, the line shaft is turning, and this is just free spinning, so you don't have any feed works moving. When you shift the belt over, it goes to the tight pulley, which then starts engaging the feed works, and all the feeds will start working. So this is just basically like an on-off switch for the feed work, using a mechanical linkage with the flat belts. And that is now back restored and operational again. So another piece checked off the list. So that wraps up this little episode of just some odds and ends that's been going on out here in the shop over the last week or so. To my many subscribers out there, I want to thank you guys for subscribing. Thank you guys for viewing. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. Leave me some comments. I love talking about this stuff. Again, I'll make the comment, you know, I said this in one of my previous videos. A lot of you guys have your settings set in YouTube where I can't reply to them. And I had some guys actually comment about that, and they said this actually, you may not even realize that you have your settings set that way. So evidently it was something that happened with the Google Plus merger with YouTube. There's some settings on some of you guys. When you reply to something, I can't reply back. You have a no reply. So you can actually Google it, search out on eBay, or it's not on eBay, but on YouTube. There's some videos that show you how to fix that. So if you actually ask a question and want to reply, I need to be able to reply. So you may want to check on that and make sure you got your settings right so that I can reply back to you. Again, thank you for watching, and we'll see you soon.